Hello and welcome to Café New Canadians. Café New Canadians is a virtual talk show brought to you by New Canadians TV network. Today, we are going to talk about a very important topic that is part of our series that is called Immigrants' Journey to Success. And today we are going to speak with the nonprofit founders. My name is Sherdil and I'm the host for tonight. And I am going to introduce a star-studded panel for today's session. So first, I'll welcome Seema David, who is the founder and executive director of 5 and 2. Gabriela Casineanu, founder of Immigrant Writers Association. Ritika Saraswat, founder of Redefined. And last but not the least, Dinesh Sharma, founder and CEO, Brilliant Mind Group's BMG. So a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining. And today, as you know, that we are going to talk about your nonprofit organizations. So I would also welcome all of our participants joining us from Zoom and YouTube, and you are most welcome to send us your questions so that we can talk about this very important topic. And as we talk about nonprofit organizations, there is a cause behind all of nonprofit organizations. So we'll be talking about the cause of our panelists and how one can start this nonprofit organization of their own. And we'll start with the discussion. And again, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And we'll start with the quick introduction and the stories behind your organization. So we'll start with Gabriela first. So Gabriela, thank you so much for joining. Just quickly talk about your journey in Canada, and we'll then go into the detail of your organization.
Thank you. I came to Canada 20 years ago. I had, by the time, 18 years in experience in electronics engineering. So I worked a lot in the technical field, but I didn't get satisfaction out of it. So I came here with the ideas that I want to change my profession, but I didn't know in which direction. So it took me some time to figure out. And I realized that I love coaching, and I started my own coaching business. And in parallel, I was helping newcomers and people who are looking for jobs to become more successful in job search and careers. So that was a path I stayed on several years until I got burned out, because I was doing not only one-on-one and talking to clients, but I was also doing a lot of workshops, daily workshops. And at one point, I was talking every day in those workshops, and it was too much for an introvert like me. So I got into a burnout. I couldn't speak for 4 months. And I asked myself, what could I do the rest of my life if I can't talk anymore? And I got the idea to write a first book. I published it on Amazon, and then I visited what in Toronto is called the Word on the Street Festival. It's a book festival. And I realized that having an organization gives you more leverage to express your voice, to help your book get out into the world, reach more potential readers, to help more people. So this is how the idea of Immigrant Writers Association started. Meantime, while I was working on it, I realized that it's much more than just leveraging other people's resources, but it's also about empowering immigrants to share their voice, their ideas, their perspectives, because we come here and we focus a lot on surviving, on building our professional path, but we kind of forget about ourselves.
Exactly.
And the world needs our perspectives as well, our ideas, our knowledge, our expertise.
Exactly. So we'll definitely talk about IWA. So Seema, thank you for joining. And what's your background? And when you came to Canada, did you start with the job, or what was your journey?
Well, I'm from India, and we moved to the Middle East many years ago, in around 1991. And from there, we moved here, and I have a business background from my family and even my studies. But in the Middle East, I taught art and design for 8 years. And when I came here, I thought I would go into teaching, but I could not get my accreditation at the Ontario College of Teachers. And out of desperation, I went through an agency and got a job at UFT, downtown just to pay bills. And from there on, I got a job at George Brown. And it's in that period when I was working at George Brown and walking the streets from the station, Union Station to 200 King Street is where I saw a lot of homelessness. And that really shocked me to think, well, I thought I came to North America, so why am I seeing so much homelessness and hunger on our streets here? And that's how the soup kitchen idea started. But we initially started as a soup kitchen.
Amazing, amazing. So we'll definitely dwell into the details of your organization. So Ritika, what about yourself? How was your journey coming to Canada, and how was your experience in terms of doing jobs?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just like how, everyone else mentioned, I'm also originally from India. I moved to Canada about 6 years ago. I came in with the idea of like a classic South Asian kid wanting to become a doctor and change the world, because I thought that was the only profession to do it. But then, I kept myself open to trying different opportunities. And that's when I really found love in the business side of things, which happened by a case competition filling in from my friend. And I never knew that that was going to become my future. So, one thing led to another. I started working as a freelance consultant initially for startups, nonprofits, worked with higher education institutions, helping them draft mentorship programs for international students. And while I was doing that, I realized a gap in the space because, me being international myself, I didn't feel like there were a lot of programs catered to my cultural needs, catered to the cultural shock I was experiencing. There was no one in faculty that necessarily resonated with those experiences and understood what my needs were. So that's when Redefine came into being, just with the purpose of really empowering those international students and helping them redefine their careers and their dreams, and not stick to the traditional mindset that, oh, if you study science, you become a science person. If you study business, you become a business person. So really focus on doing that non-traditionality of the career experience overall, and just, helping them redefine themselves.
Great. So Dinesh, tell us about yourself, specifically the journey that you had coming to Canada.
Perfect. So as everybody said, I came to Canada in 2002. The two things that I was told when I landed in Canada, that if you need to be successful in Canada, you need to have a Canadian education and Canadian experience. Within first year, I realized that's only 50% correct. The other 50% that you need to have is three other important skills. Your network, you need to volunteer in the community, and you need to have a pool of mentors that can help you get to where you want to. So by getting involved into the community, two things happened. I had a pool of mentors that were helping me scale up, grow in my career, but then I realized I'm only one. And there are hundreds and thousands of newcomers that are coming to Canada every year. So what I started doing is I started going and speaking at all these settlement agencies, sharing my knowledge of what I was getting it from my mentor. It was helping me grow because on the one side I was a mentee, on the other side I was a mentor. And for the work that I was doing, I was a finalist for TriX Immigrant Success Award. Media started writing about me, but more importantly, I would say the transformation in my life came in when COVID hit. And we realized that the newcomer community was the one that was largely impacted. So a group of us, 15 of us, got together and said, we got to do something. We started organizing virtual webinars on helping people become more employable. And we realized within a couple of months' time, Brilliant Minds Group was on the horizon. So that's
Exactly.
basically my job.
Yeah, because in the initial remarks that I did was there's always a cause behind an organization. So we'll talk about those causes as well. So Seema, first of all, tell us that you also told us about your background in business as well. So you had some idea like how organizations work and how they're the different aspects that are going to impact your organization. So first, tell us what was your cause that you started this non-profit organization?
So my business background really didn't, in a sense, come into play initially because I was very naive about the rules and regulations here, right? Because there's so much you have to get done to start a not-for-profit or a charity, firstly, right? And in my heart, what I felt was, okay, I want to feed people in my community, but I thought I could cook a pot of soup and go to the street corner and feed someone, right? Like you can do it in India, but you can't do it here. And I quickly learned that. And I didn't really have, like Dinesh mentioned about getting a mentor and that is really key. And I appreciate that, Dinesh, because if I had that, maybe I wouldn't have gone through a lot of the hoops I had to go through. But I didn't know anyone who had started a soup kitchen. And until today, I mean, we're going to complete 10 years this year. I still haven't been to another soup kitchen, but we've moved on from there. But initially, when I wanted to start the soup kitchen, I went to a local church where I was going to, and I asked pastor, and I said, Scarborough, I met a lot of families in our church who were also having a hard time. We came with a little bit of money, but we were struggling ourselves. And I thought, how about other people who have come with zero? I mean, almost nothing, right? People come in, it's a dream to come this side of the world. And a lot of people were struggling. And I said, can I help people, just serve them some food? And they said, well, for one, you're going to need approval from public health, right? To even use the church kitchen, which they want approved for. And so it had to start right from the bottom. I had to call public health and get the inspector in and say, well, those kitchens in local churches are not commercial, not commercial kitchen. Basically, they are more the home kitchens, right? That kind of, you don't have stainless steel surfaces and the commercial equipment.
Yeah.
So right from that part on, but this inspector said to me, well, if you're serving free food, you can actually use this kitchen. You don't need a commercial kitchen. So it started right from there. And so we started serving soups from there. And that was way back in 2013. And while that initial journey was really hard, but we stayed at that property for 5 years before we outgrew it. And then we had to rent another property. When we started renting, that's when it got a little harder, because now you have commitments.
Yeah.
For the first 7 years, we couldn't pay anyone but a chef, because we were not for profit and we had no income. We had no revenue coming in except small donations from $5 to $50. And there's not much you can do with that, but we were able to run the kitchen that way for 5 years. And when we moved into a rented space, we were there for 2-3 years, and then COVID came in 2020, of course. 2019, we moved into the lease space. And when COVID came in, that's the first time the government actually, I mean, they even considered us, because prior to that, every time we talked about getting money, the government said we don't fund food. We give people social assistance, but we are not going to fund food per se, right? So people have to manage the food themselves. Not acknowledging that after paying rent and basic necessities, the choice is, well, do I pay rent and have my transport money, or do I buy food? Food is the only place where you can actually adjust, right? The other fixed expenses you cannot adjust.
Yes.
And, but when COVID came in,
That's a very important point, to manage the finances, because you're not earning the profit, but you have to sustain that organization as well. So we'll definitely talk about this important aspect in detail. So Ritika, what inspires you to fuel that fire that you have within to start this organization and to run it continuously?
Yeah, I would say there are two things essentially. One is, again, I come from India. I'm one of those 600 million girls in India, out of which only 40% get access to education. So the fact that I got the opportunity to come abroad and pursue my dreams in a way, as you said, I think that itself meant I came with a responsibility here to make that a reality for many more back home. So I think that was one factor for me. Second being, being a woman of color in an international space where I'm not necessarily culturally associated with, neither do I speak the same first language. I think initially I did face a lot of stereotypes and judgments constantly being placed on me just on the basis of my skin tone, my accent and other things. And initially I was fine with it. I was also working part-time job at a pizza place as an international student, which many students would relate to just fund my finances, because my parents were paying 4 times the fee of any other, permanent resident here. So there's a lot of that that kind of, I don't want to say liability, but responsibility also placed onto your shoulders at an age of 18 years, and I think when I started seeing other students make their ambitions, limit their ambitions just because of their current situation, that's when I thought it's time to take matters in our own hands. Just because I work at a pizza place doesn't mean my dreams have to be limited. I can still dream to be the CEO of a company, the next year or whatever it is. But I felt like just because I worked somewhere, just because it was a low position and not a very high paying job, people, my managers at the organization, like, those pizza places started viewing me a certain way and started laughing or being satirical at my ambitions and my goals. And, when I started seeing that happen to other students, that's when I think it really affected me. And that's when I wanted to kind of start creating an organization where students are made aware of and taught the real world skills. Unless you're a business student, no one teaches you about networking, something that Dinesh mentioned before. It's never taught to you, but business students have classes on networking, so that's when one component of our nonprofit is really focused on providing access to education, not just to international students and BIPOC communities in Canada, but also to underserved communities in India and a few countries in Africa as well. That is what made us expand. So our whole goal overall was just to kind of empower those people and never let anyone limit their ambitions and limit their capabilities or think they're not capable just because they're of a particular race, nationality, socioeconomic status, religion, background, etc. So that I would say is the main reason.
Exactly. So Gabriela, we know what is the cause behind your organization and the organization that is doing amazing work in terms of helping newcomers. So tell us a little more about the passion that you had and the process that you opted for this organization to start.
When the idea came to me, I was really excited about the potential of that idea. And I started talking to people around me just to get their input. What do you think about this? Because I was thinking that it could be a big project to take on, and I didn't know if there is any interest in that. And the more I was talking to people around me, more excited I got, because I realized that even Canadians, people born here, are interested in this idea, in learning more about introverts' life, introverts' ideas, introverts' perspectives. I talked with people that I met along the way, other immigrants like me. I talked to someone who was at one point the president of the National Organization for Publishers. And she highly encouraged me to start this association. So I got that kind of feedback first. And then when I was ready, I reached out and said, hey, I want to start it, but I'm aware that it's too much to take on my own. So who wants to help me to start together? So with other 12 immigrants, not only newcomers, immigrants new to Canada or established here for a while, 13 of us started the organization. We incorporated at the federal level. And we start splitting the tasks between us and creating the projects that is still on. We publish an annual anthology. We have webinars. So there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes. But the organization itself, it's an organization, and many people don't understand that. They think, oh, you're just a group. I want to join your group. They don't realize how much work is behind that kind of public image of what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. There is a lot of work behind and a lot of efforts behind that. But there is also one thing that you mentioned in the beginning was the idea. So Dinesh, my next question is to you. One is cause, that definitely starts off within, but there is always an idea behind a non-profit organization, like the problems that people are facing or the gaps that you can fill. So how important is the idea behind an organization that is non-profit?
I would say that ideas are very important, okay? But more than the idea, the two things that individual needs. One is a passion. If you have a passion, and then with the passion, you have to have an attitude of service to the other. Because I'll tell you what, the work that we are doing it through not-for-profit organizations, within my own network, few individuals started the same work, but they started as a part of a profit-making business. And they failed. They failed. Why? Because they were doing it to generate the money as a business. And I will say this, I know Seema and Ritika are from India, so I'm going to use an example, okay? Indian Prime Minister made a statement at Startup Enclave where there were 500 startups that were there. They said 90% of the startups fail within the first couple of years' time. Why? Because when the startups happen, their purpose is to make money. But if your startup is to solve a problem and be of service to the others, money is only a byproduct.
Exactly.
You need money to run the operations. I agree with that too. But if you start an organization with the purpose of generating the money, okay, you will fail. So your passion, your service to the other, and more importantly, identify where the gaps are and how you can fulfill that gap. That's important.
Yes, exactly. And it is a great thing to give back to the society. The way that people helped you, transformed you in a way that you can help others. So there is a question from our audience, and it is directed to Seema. And they are thanking you for your service, and they are asking, are you funded by the government? You're on mute, Seema.
My apologies. Yes, we did not get any funds up until the pandemic came in. So the first time we got any money from the government was in 2020.
And the money that is coming to your organization, you told us earlier that food is not being funded by the government. So this funds that came into the organization runs the organization, the other operations, right?
Yes and no, because it just depends on what grant we get. Some grants don't give you any operational money at all. Some will give you 10% for administration costs, but some of them give you just capital costs. So, for example, this year OTF is coming out with another grant opening up next month. It's called a capital grant. But at this point for us, we have all the capital equipment. So we are hardly likely to be even applying for it. So it just depends on what grant you get. But operational money is hard to come by. And when you mentioned food, when I say they don't give you money for food, but during COVID, yes, a lot of the money was given for emergency COVID, what they call COVID support at that point. So it was mainly for food. In 2020, 21, 22, a lot of money was given out to be used in short periods of time, 3 months, 6 months, which at times, not to be ungrateful, seemed unreasonable, because if you're given $50,000 and said you spend it in 3 months now, be responsible and accountable for that money. You just can't keep going and buying food. You need to still be able to very responsibly handle it and hand it out to people.
Exactly. So Seema, my next question is to you also. If one is deciding that they are going to open a non-profit organization, for example, a soup kitchen, so what are the steps that one can take in terms of starting this organization?
So I guess the first step would be to register as a not-for-profit, which is much easier than trying to get a charitable status. It took us until 2018. It took us over a year to get our charitable status, but it meant getting lawyers involved, somebody to write your bylaws, and giving it a lot more work, and having a board of directors too. So the first step would, I guess, to register as not-for-profit, and even before that, to identify exactly what the need is and which are the communities that have a need for food. and then research and find who are the other people in the area doing even related work, right? Because I've learned the importance of partnerships. That has really come to home in the last 3 years, that without partnerships, you cannot fulfill your mission in our kind of work. Because there's no way an organization like 5 and 2, which has not even 4 employees, can actually go out and serve people, right? You have to have, we work with 9 to 12 partnerships. So we work with community housing and others. So they will distribute the food. We prepare the food, they pick it up, or we drop it. So you have to research and find who are the people who are going to be partnering with you, because all of these, our partnerships have been there for years. They're much older organizations, very established, very well funded. Scarborough Center for Healthy Communities, East Scarborough Storefront, Warden Woods, all of them are very heavily funded. Whereas we were so new and 7 years, no funding, but we were able to fulfill our mission getting the help of all these partnerships, because they could serve the people in their communities, right?
Yes, exactly. Partnership is important. So, Ritika, in your organization, I think it's very important to partner with the organizations that are working the same work, or if you are in a school environment, in a college, university environment, it is very important to partner with them as well. So, what do you think about the aspect of the partnership?
Yeah, I was actually just going to raise my hand to add to what Seema mentioned, because coincidentally, I don't know if anyone knows this, but one of the areas of Redefine is where we also get students engaged in the community side of things, because we initially actually pivoted. We were a nonprofit dedicated purely to empowering the homeless community initially. But I think it's like the partnership component, that's where it comes into play. One thing I would also just add is, like, when you're even thinking of starting a nonprofit, you don't just, because you find an idea, just start away with it. If there are other organizations doing the same work exactly that you want to do, and they're even doing it better, just associate with them, right? Why do you want to start something new all over again when you can just work together and be stronger? And I think that's where partnerships also comes into role. Okay, if you end up starting your organization, I think the reason I started was because I identified a gap that I couldn't see other organizations fulfilling, or not fulfilling it in the exact same way that we wanted to fulfill, and I think we also have worked without any funding for the last 2 years, which I think is very unimaginable for a lot of people, because a lot of our events, we've never taken sponsorship from anyone. And I think the way they have just been running is because I think we've just been able to establish that community network. Even when we are like, inviting like major people like VCs from big firms as well, CEOs, any other kind of like companies as well, the only way we have been able to do that is through the networks that we have been able to develop with them. I think that's where networking comes into play. And second is those associated organizations who we have partnered up with, like Empower being another organization which is also working in the international student space. We have partnered up with them multiple times. Like even like BMG, we always have conversations around how can we partner, because I think at the end of the day, your goal is to empower international students. It doesn't matter you do it solely or you do it with everyone else. The end goal is just to empower them. So I think that's where I think we shouldn't look at it as competition. A lot of people I think do that, but I think even in business, when it's for profit as well, you can always find avenues to join hands together and be stronger, because I think 2 is always stronger than 1, so 100% for it.
Yes. And Gabriela, just Ritika explained very clearly about how you can start. The most important point is also to create a niche and make a little different idea if you are running a nonprofit organization. So what do you suggest how to create a niche and a specific point that you can hit upon if you are starting a nonprofit organization?
If you have an idea to start a nonprofit organization, you already have an idea of a niche, usually, because you know what kind of change you want to make and who could benefit from that change. So you know who you want to work with, who you want to help. So as soon as you have that idea, try to figure out what kind of services and products you can do to help that specific niche. So in our case with Immigrant Writers Association, I was an immigrant. I was not a writer before I started writing my first book. I met other writers who are immigrants. They already wrote before. They are still interested in this idea. They still connected with the idea that this could be an association where they feel they belong. Because there are other writing associations out there, but they didn't feel that they connect well with the members or with those associations like they connect with our association. So think about who your organization can better serve. And that we even put in on our website that we serve immigrants first and second generation, not because we want to leave everyone else aside, it's because we think that we can serve this niche better. So
yes.
when yes.
Yeah. Do you also partner with the other associations in terms of finding resources?
Occasionally, yes. We partner with other associations. Like Ritika, we don't have funding. We didn't get funding so far. We started in 2018. On the financial side, we have membership, two types of memberships. The partnerships that we create are more how we can bring more people, organizations to help our members. So if we align that partnership toward the Iowa goal, that's where the partnership is going. For example, we partnered with other art associations created by immigrants to serve immigrants, because there are some resource sharing, some ideas like we're doing this exchange right now to help each other. We partnered with organizations that can provide free space for our workshops or activities. So you think about what you need for your organization and you look for who can help you with, and you look at a win-win situation. We promote each other,
yes,
cross-promote. So you're not just trying to get help from others, but you look at how you can help them as well.
Yeah, it's a common goal to serve the community. So we have a question from Amir, and it is directed to Dinesh. The question is, what change do you see today for immigrants and students as compared to 20 years ago? And what platform is available for immigrants and students?
Perfect. So thank you, Amir, for that question. I would say 20 years ago, when we came into Canada, there were not enough resources available. The only information that we had to do was to rely on our friends and relatives to get the information. Canada has evolved a lot in the last 20 years' time. Now there is a lot of support systems that are available, although there is still more to be done. BMG, Brilliant Minds Group, is one such organization that we are a group of 20 like-minded people, those who want to give back to the community, who want to create the pathways for newcomers and international students to reach their professional goals. The other way we are doing it is our model is, we call it as a 3C model: community, connection, collaboration. We are building an ecosystem. So what I mean by ecosystem is, when a newcomer comes to Canada, the needs of a newcomer are different than the needs of an international student. So when a newcomer comes to Canada, somebody who's on a PR and all that stuff too, they have a need for job, housing, financial management, taxation, so on and so forth. We at BMG are expert on career guidance and coaching and mentoring. But the other part of it is health and wellness. COVID especially has presented these. Health and wellness is very important. If you're not healthy, you won't get a job. You won't get a job, you won't remain healthy. You're healthy and you have a job, but you don't know how to manage your finances, you will dip yourself into the financial crisis. What we do is we have collaborated with many organizations which have expertise in their own field. We at BMG does is, so for international students, Ritika is one such example. We've collaborated with many community colleges, Sherdil College, Troy College, Niagara College, where we go and deliver the programs for them. We ran a program recently, and I'm pretty open to say, we ran a program for Sherdil College saying that 5 modules program for the international student community to reach your career goals in Canada. And that program is so successful that Sherdil is now talking to us saying that, hey, let's do, that was a pilot project. But Sherdil is not saying, let's scale this up and do it at a larger community. Seeing the success of that program, Troyes College has come to us. Niagara College has come to us too.
Yeah, that's the power of collaboration and the partnership that we were discussing. Yes. So Seema, if we are talking about running the organization, the financial aspects are very important. As previously mentioned, that you can get funding, and there are other ways to get those finances. So tell us how 5 and 2 is working in terms of managing the finance, and if you can suggest something, the way a process that you can manage your finances through.
That's a very key question. So for us, the nature of our work, because we're dealing with food every day, 80% of what we use at 5 and 2 is rescued food, and I'll have to explain a bit what I mean by rescued food. So it's not food we pay for. So statistically, I think last year's report from Daily Bread, or was it Second Harvest, said 35% of all that Canada produces or grows is actually it's wasted, and a lot of that, I think 60% of that 35% can actually be brought back to the table. And I'm not saying spoiled food. It's not, when we rescue food, it's food that is either going to expire or it's just expired. And it could be food that some organizations will not put back inside once it's out on a shelf. For example, Starbucks, once they put it out and they're out there for you to see it, it'll never go back in. Even if it's still packaged and not opened, they're going to throw it by the end of the day. So we rescue a lot of food from the city, from different organizations, and then we repurpose that food to go out. So 80% of our food is rescued. So I will not buy anything. My staff will often say, we need whatever, ABC. If a chef comes in and says, I need some very fancy product, and I'll say, nope, we've got to use what we have. But just rethink. And so most of our chefs that work with us have to have that kind of a mindset. They see what we get and they make meals from there. So we're very careful and very, very diligent about how we use the money we get, because it's hard-earned money. It's not come easy. It's never ever come easy to us, except, I wouldn't say even except. Now we have some funding in the last 3 years. And even that, to manage those funds, that's why we only three and a half staff right now. We work, the rest of 70% are volunteers, and they come in. We have maybe over a week, 30 to 40 volunteers that come in on a schedule, and drivers, they could be just working in the kitchen. They could be doing social media for us. So when it comes to raising money, 365 days or every week of the year, we are trying to raise money.
Exactly.
Put the word out that we need money to run. Right?
Yes, the advertising and the marketing aspect, because social media is there. We will definitely talk about that. Yes, Dinesh, you want to add something?
Yes, I wanted to add to what Seema said. Many years ago, I worked for a food company, and that food company had a cafe. It was a manufacturing facility where I was working. I'm an HR guy. I was the HR manager for that company. So that food company, I won't name it, because otherwise I'll say I'm promoting that company. I'm not. Okay. That food company had a retail cafe attached to its manufacturing facility. Every morning, the fresh food from that manufacturing facility would get filled into the retail cafe for serving it to the customer. At 4 o'clock, whatever the food is left is not sold on that day. People from the food bank would come in, and that company will give that food to that food bank to take it away. So to your point, Seema, it's not spoiled food. It was a fresh food. It's just that the food could not be used or could not be sold on that day by the retail cafe.
Yes.
And they had to it out. So they give it to the
there
food
are
bank.
so many examples like this. So talking about some other models. So Ritika, if I want to ask you how you manage your finances, and if there are so many other models that you can follow in terms of managing those finances, because to run that, to open that organization is a one task, and to run it is a big task. So what do you suggest to people?
100%. I think I'm still figuring out. Let me just put that as a disclaimer. But all I would say is, I think we have changed our, like, I honestly call it a business model, because I think a nonprofit is nothing but a startup, very honestly, except for the fact that any revenue you generate, it's not going into your pocket. It's going back into funding the organization. And I think that's how we started viewing ourselves. Very, like, now, if you anytime ask us, we always view ourselves as social entrepreneurs, because I think it is a startup, and I think we've changed our business model over time. Right now, initially we were very much dependent on just funding through people, through GoFundMe's, and those people who subscribe to you through platforms like Zephy and other ones. But then we realized that was very unsustainable, because some months we were getting good donations, some months we would not, and that would affect the drives we were doing. And at the same time, finding sponsorships and grants is a huge time investment. People don't realize. So hats off to Seema for doing that, because it's a huge time investment. And I realized, like, when we started focusing on that, instead of actually doing the groundwork, it took away a lot of our attention to just raising money and capital, which was contrary to the point of our organization, which was to create impact today, right? I think that's when our business model shifted more towards the consumer model, whereby B2C kind of a thing. So we provide services to most of our students, right? So any events that we organize, any mentorship programs, speaker events that we organize, we do have a certain charge to the events for students. Let's say anywhere between like $5 to $10, depending upon the type of event it is, or even going up to $15 if it's more intensive, like program or like a fellowship program or something like that. The reason we do that, it serves two purposes. One is it also helps create accountability among students. A lot of nonprofits would relate to this. When you have zero pay for your events, students are not going to show up. If you have 100 people sign up, likely 30-40 people show up. But I think now, when you actually even charge like $5-10 is a nominal amount. We surveyed about more than 150 students, and they said yes, $5 to $10 is something I'm comfortable paying with, even from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. So that was the amount we came up with to charge students on that basis. And how many of our students sign up? They're all who show up. So I think that's one way. Second way, we're actually generating revenues through our merch. So we do reiterate our merch every 6 months, and we post it on our website, redefine.social, putting that plug in. But, so we sell our merch there as well. And it just shares opinions around social issues, the facts around, you are the change, ideas about I am the change maker. So just simple ideologies like that. So that is our second revenue generating model. And I think the third one is where we're providing a lot of coaching services. So, whether it be resume, cover letter, consulting specific like case competition practice as well, because a lot of the students who work with us, they have gone on to win case competitions, get jobs at KPMG, Deloitte, McKinsey, etc. So I think like it's just those kind of additions we have tried to make over a period of time. I think we're still figuring out how to do it more and make it more sustainable. But I think right now it helps us stay, I wouldn't say we're making profits in any way, but whatever we invest into arranging an event, we're hopefully able to get it back through the tickets and other things.
Exactly.
So that's how we've been working.
So just to add to this, there's a question for you, Ritika, from Ronak Kumar, and he's asking, what's your vision for Redefine in order to grow, engage, and engage more people and make it a platform for change?
Wow, amazing question. First of all, thank you so much for that, Ronak. I would say our vision for the organization is hopefully one day we live in a space where any international student coming in Canada never feels that their sole purpose coming here is to get a PR, and that they have to work in a truck job, or they have to work in the hospitality space out of need. Because I think there are other ways to fulfill your financial needs as well. I gave into that cause as well initially, and I started working, not to say one job is better than the other, but I say like a lot of students work against their own will just because of their current need. And I think that leads to sacrificing of their future goals and endeavors. So I just hope that is a goal we're able to solve, and every student just feels they're capable of achieving, sky is the limit. I hope every student embodies that. And I think for that, if we can get people, we're hiring a lot right now. So if anyone who is passionate and is willing to take ownership and running initiatives, we are here to even fund you, finance you, empower you, provide you with the mentorship, all you need to do what you want to do.
Amazing, yeah. Amazing. So Gabriela, we'll talk about how we can tell people about your about the work that you are doing. But the question that we were asking all of the panelists was the finances. You told us that you have applied for a grant, so you have gone through that process. So if you could tell our audience what is the way to find a grant, a sponsorship for the organization that you are working on?
First of all, we didn't get any grants. We know the process. And I want to share, like the other did, how we survive all these years, because you have expenses like the website, you have to pay for it. If you go to a book festival, you have to pay for the booth. So we have two types of memberships. We're a membership organization. So we have a free membership and a paid membership. And that paid membership so far supported the activities and the operational costs. It's not enough because we want to do more activities, we want to help more the members, but it is something that helped us so far. And we designed the benefits this way, so those who have a paid membership will get more out of the membership. In parallel, we looked at the grants available, and we realized there are different types of grants. There are grants for immigrants, there are grants for the arts sector. And what we realized, everyone is saying that you need to function at least 1 year if you want to apply for a grant. You need to build that credibility and trust that a funder would like to give you money like the other organization did. So beside that credibility and trust, you need to have the knowledge how to write a grant. And that's kind of a different knowledge than the one that you do to start and grow the organization. You also need to understand what are the elements that go in a good grant application. You can talk to other people who received grants. For example, I talked to someone, she said, first, when I got the first grant for the association, it was for a program. But I was partnering with another organization. They kind of took me under their umbrella to give more credibility to our application. So they got a grant for a program. Then from then, they got a grant for a second program. And 3 years later, they were able to get a grant for the organizational side. So it's a step-by-step process to get into that, getting granting to fund your association. But there are so many other ways to finance. We start like Rikita said, more with the mindset that you can do things even if you don't get grants, like the membership, or we have, if you have webinars or workshops, our paid members get it for free, but the others can pay $10 or $15. Or so there are ways to get that money to help the organization sustain and grow, even if you don't get grants.
Exactly. So that's the important part. So Seema, how you can attract people who love your cause and wants to donate or wants to work with you as a volunteer. So what is a good way to market your nonprofit organization?
I guess you have to start with a good website, so people can, if they search for you, you have to, I guess, find ways to go into Google and make sure you have all those, a tagline, everything where you tag, whether it's soup or food food insecurity, different terms. And so when people look for say, for example, they look even for donation to support food insecurity, your name should pop up somewhere there. And you have to be able to be reachable, right? When people call, most places you call, you get a voicemail. But I'm happy to say anyone calls us, you will get a real person to speak with you. And just as a case in point, when Ritika is talking about students, a lot of us are dealing with working with new students or new immigrants. We often have new international students and other students who have come in looking for food, right? And so even this week, we had 2 students who took a bus from somewhere else. They landed in Toronto International only on Sunday, and they were looking for food. And how do you deal with situations like this? Like, they came to our door. So the staff and I, we've sat down and said, no one goes away from here without something. They don't have to be registered. We can teach them show them the process, but don't send them empty-handed. And I think when our staff gave them food, 2 bags of food, they cried. Both the girls cried. So just to think that this is the situation out there, really. Right, it's not an easy situation, but people know, at least for us, where food is concerned, people, they just type in and they search, we're there. We have calls coming in every day for food, right? And we're there.
How about volunteers? Like, how is being the response of the volunteers associated with your cause?
We generally have a very long list of volunteers waiting to get in. So we have people who are on our schedule already, because we don't want people to come from a distance, giving their time, and we don't have enough work. So we have people on schedule. And so we tell people, okay, when it opens up, we'll get you in. So we have weekend volunteers, we have volunteers for the morning, for the afternoon, different slots. But they just, again, look us up, fill in an online form, and it's not hard to get. It's not really hard to get volunteers to come in. Mhm.
Exactly. Dinesh, how do you think the marketing of your nonprofit organization can help finding more people to associate with your cause and help people? And how is the social media working in this aspect?
You asked a very good question. So I would say three things that we do it at our end. One thing is using the social media very effectively. But when you use social media, you have to post the content that is relevant to the people. That's the first part. So people read social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever that stuff is. The second other important piece part of it is people are your ambassadors. Mm-hmm. If I tell, hey, Ritika is doing a good job, okay, people are going to trust that rather than somebody else posting it on social media saying Ritika is doing a good job or Gabriela is doing a good job. Because human connection, human words is very, very important. So through when we organize our events, we encourage people and we say, did you find value in the events that we organize? If you found value, go and tell all of other individuals that this was a good webinar that you even organized it. The third and the very important piece part of it, what we have done, especially to support the international student community, we've now created a student ambassador program. It is student assisting students, but this student ambassador program is, we have a board of directors, 15 people, very senior level, vice president, directors, and all that. Now, these 10 student ambassadors that we have they have a direct access to these 15 individuals. We are saying we are developing future leaders. I'm just throwing an example, hypothetical situation. Sherdil, if you're a student ambassador for us, you may not have otherwise a direct access to the 15 board of directors that we have but once you become a student director for us, now you've got a direct access. You become more focused, you become more knowledgeable, you become a future leader. But then we also encourage you that whatever knowledge you get in, go and share it within your 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, because now my personal belief is knowledge is for sharing and sharing is caring.
Exactly. Yes. Another question directed to you from Amir is, what are the new upcoming programs that a student or an immigrant can utilize at BMG?
So we are starting a mentoring program starting next month. It is a 5-module mentoring program where we're going to help them with job search. We're going to help them mindset, because at the end of the day, it is your mindset. I'm going to use an example here. I was approached by somebody yesterday saying that I've been in Canada for only 3 days time, and she was panicked a lot. If I don't get a job in 1 week time, whereas what she mentioned it to me, she already had a job where she resigned and she was going to get paid till 30th of June. And I said, if on the 3rd day of landing in a new country, you're so anxious, while you already have a job back in the hand, which is till 30th of January, you're going to hurt yourself. It's all about mindset.
Same. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to help job set, mindset, individual one-to-one coaching. Also, mentoring program is something that we are launching it next month. Okay. And then there are other programs with the colleges and the universities that we are launching it to help the newcomers as well as the international student community.
Perfect. So, Gabriela, what are the upcoming events that is part of your organization, if you can tell our audience?
Sure, we have webinars coming up for writers, not only for immigrants, for anyone who wants to write. We have two webinars coming up. We have a new anthology coming up in the fall. Every year we have this anthology, and talking about finances, this is another way, and social media. If you have a project and you talk about your project during the phase when you prepare for it, when you have the project and after it, this builds that engagement and credibility and exposure. Also, media can help us a lot. For example, New Canadians did an interview with us about the Immigrant Writers Association. It went nationally, and we got new members from all over Canada because we are registered at Canadian federal level. So there are many activities that we already have planned, like the Word on the Street Festival coming up next month. But also there are new events that we figure out along the way, because you don't know what are the opportunities and what else you want to create. So we had a media campaign for last anthology. So there are many ways to partner with other organizations who give you that exposure, like New Canadians did for us. And
Exactly.
that's right now.
Yeah, that's again the benefit of collaboration comes into the play. So Ritika, what are your goals in terms of growing your organization? What are the upcoming programs that you are thinking to launch?
Yeah, I think in terms of goals is like purely catered to like partnerships and collaborations. I think one avenue we're really looking into is entrepreneurship, because I feel like we all talk about, okay, how do we make students more employable? But I think that's not the point, right? You don't necessarily have to be employed. I think the idea of like having a stable job is very traditional. And I think it's something that I came with as well from home. But I think it's important to realize today we live in a time and age where everyone has ideas which are worthwhile bringing to the table. And we just want to empower students, giving them the resources and access to that mentorship and programs that help them pursue those ideas and make them a reality. Because I think entrepreneurship is an intimidating space to be in, not going to lie. I took the longest time to start my own nonprofit because I was like, hey, this is a scary place, you know, now everything relies on you, especially as a sole founder. So I feel like our real goal right now is we're collaborating with a lot of like colleges, including Trios College, Humber, UBC, Vancouver. So we're based in 3 cities, Vancouver, Halifax, and Toronto. So we are collaborating with organizations across there, a lot of clubs within these universities as well, to get that more of that direct interaction with the students and work with them. So co-create with them any programs we want to provide to them. The biggest one coming up is a social impact fellowship program, which we are offering to students, which is a 2-month program. They get a certification at the end. And the whole hope is to motivate students to become change makers of today, but at the same time, offer them that Canadian relevant experience that they need and that prevents them from getting better job opportunities. So yeah.
Perfect. So Seema, what are your plans in terms of growing your organization and helping more and more people?
We don't have you.
You're on mute, Seema.
Since the last year, we've had a new vision in place now. In 6 years, we want to become self-sustainable, because otherwise, like we all talked about, grant writing takes a lot of time, just putting out applications. So all the time we're out there asking for money. So we are trying to put out this fact to our current funders, saying in 6 years, we want to become self-sustainable. So we don't have to, at least for 70% of the finances, we need to have a kind of a social enterprise that will bring in money. So we're looking towards starting a social enterprise at 5 and 2, which will fund our free meal programs.
Perfect. So now we are going to conclude the session. So just last words. Any advice for people who are going to start their nonprofit organization? Seema, we'll start with you.
Don't give up in the first year. Yeah, try and stay on track and go past that first year. It's going to be hard. Nothing worth anything is easy, right? So keep that in mind that, okay, it's not going to happen in 1 year or 3 years, but keep at it and don't give up your dream.
Keep trying.
Keep trying, yeah.
So, Gabriela?
My advice is to talk to people around you, people who believe in the same cause, and try to understand better their perspective. Get mentors like Dinesh said. Try to understand where your organization might fit in the whole system, because that's how you can carve your path. And of course, stay motivated and get people who believe in the same cause to help you to move along together.
Exactly. So Dinesh.
I would say two things. One is have a desire to serve the community, to serve the people. And the second thing is people don't believe what you say. People believe what you do. When people see you actually doing what you're saying you're doing, wonders, communities, collaborations, all these will start automatically coming up to you. But Canada is a process-oriented country. Anything and everything that you do, you have to follow a process.
Exactly.
And establishing your not-for-profit organization, for lack of a better word, I would say, will take you 3 to 5 years' time to get your footing on the ground. Don't give up.
Yes.
Because if you have a desire to serve others, give yourself 3 years' time, 5 years' time.
Amazing. Amazing. So Ritika, quickly, what is your...
Yes, quickly. Okay, I want a time limit. I would say most important thing is compassion, right? And I would say, like, contrary to what others may have said, compassion starts with yourself first. So first serve yourself. When you are fine, that's when go back to the community. We are not here to always, I think we think compassion is just about giving back to others. No, when you feel good about yourself, you're going to feel good about others. When you help yourself, you're going to feel the likelihood to help others because you are in a position to do that. So start with yourself first and advocate for your dreams and your ambitions and just go for it. Be curious.
Yeah, and start working on the cause that you are going to start. So get some homework. That is very important. Thank you so much, Ritika. Thank you so much, Gabriela, for joining us. Seema and Dinesh, amazing suggestions and insights that you have shared with our audience. And thank you so much for those insightful questions from the audience. Today, we were talking about nonprofit organizations and the founders and the leaders who have started as organizations, and they're running it very successfully. So the biggest part is to keep trying and help people through your cause. So on New Canadians, we are sharing all the resources that we can share with our audience who are planning to come to Canada or already in Canada and working to start their nonprofit organization. So here are the resources that you can follow all the amazing information that is being shared on our website, on all other sessions that we have previously did. So thank you so much again for all the panelists for joining us, and for all the participants who are joining us through Zoom or YouTube. Thank you so much for that. And on New Canadians, you can follow us on our website, on our social media platforms, and as well as the who are in Canada, they can watch us on Omni Television as well. So again, I would thank all of the participants, all the panelists for this amazing discussion, amazing conversation. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.